All right, everyone, this old prince seems unable to ascend to the throne of the king and appears to have been deposed. I must sincerely apologize, especially to the students sitting in the front row. You forgot to bring gas masks. If I don't smoke, I feel quite sluggish, which goes against today's rules, so please forgive me. Let me have a smoke first. In this university, there is an organization called the Chinese Studies Club, which has a long history. As your classmate just mentioned, it started in 1991. This is a very good thing. The significance of the Chinese Studies Club is not limited to just a few students who have an interest in Chinese classical studies. While this interest is valuable and meaningful, representing an aspect of our spiritual life, the activities of the Chinese Studies Club today hold increasingly widespread significance. This is because they relate to our nation's choices for the future in the context of the present time. We have already adopted a Western political system. For example, the Chinese version of a Congress or Parliament is the National People's Congress, a representation-based system. We have also embraced the Western-born economic system known as the market economy, which revolves around modern ways of producing goods. In the past 100 years of modern Chinese history, we have achieved these two major feats. Of course, there is a third major achievement, which we started to work on since the May 4th movement, learning about Western ideas and culture. The May 4th New Culture Movement, 1919, was all about Westernization. To become more educated about the West, Chinese people not only studied democracy and science, but also Western philosophies such as Kantianism and Hegelianism. In other words, in the realm of ideas and culture, we have been following the West for almost a century. No doubt, Westernization has had a significant impact on China's progress. That being said, the standard for measuring China's progress is set by Western nations, since, after all, we were a nation forced into modernization. The main goal of modernization is to industrialize, and to do that, we must bring in market principles and the logic of capital. Even in the early days of our nation, when we had a planned socialist economy, that era still revolved around capital. It was a capital society without actual capitalists. And how could that be? One might ask. Well, even during the planned economy era, our economy was still commodity-based. We were not swapping goods we produced, but rather, exchanging commodities. The exchange between our different production departments is realized through value, the exchange of commodity value, so the law of value must work. Once the law of value comes into play, so does the law of surplus value. That is why Chairman Mao mentioned in his later years that our society then is somewhat similar to the old days. We still have commodity production, commodity exchange, the 8-grade wage system, etc. Also, the bourgeoisie still has power, with limitations under proletarian rule. So, you see, for over 100 years, the Chinese people, after learning from the West, have been following such a path. At the beginning of reform and opening up, we fully accepted market principles and shifted from a planned economy to a market-driven one, triggering a huge transformation in Chinese society. For over 30 years, we have been working hard to understand how capital works. We thought that by further developing and refining the market economy, we could bring progress to China. But now, we are facing two serious fundamental issues. The first fundamental issue is that in China today, few people feel a sense of belonging and are truly satisfied with life. It does not matter if you are part of the few successful folks who made it big in the market economy reforms, or part of the larger disadvantaged population. Few people, regardless of social class, have found a place where they feel like they fit in. We have moved from a time where people were generally dissatisfied with materialistic possessions, to a time where there is widespread unease in our hearts and minds. Our ruling party is fully aware of this, which is why it proposed the goal of constructing the core socialist values during the tenure of the General Secretary. This aims to rebuild our spiritual homeland in China. The spiritual foundation of the Chinese nation and the future society cannot remain in a state of value vacuum for a long time. This is one of the fundamental issues. The second fundamental issue is that today's Chinese society has not formed a rational social order due to the introduction of capitalist logic. Independent individuals do not interact with each other based on rational, contractual principles. This has not been achieved even to this day. Will it be achieved in the future? I don't think so. Today's lack of success is reflected in the fact that Chinese society, in the words of Liang Shuming, died 1988, may be on the verge of disintegration. This judgment of being on the verge of disintegration is evident in a fundamental phenomenon we all see and experience, a widespread crisis of trust. There is mutual distrust between the poor and the rich, between the government and the people, among public institutions, and even among family members. We are once again confronting a situation reminiscent of Sun Yat-sen's, died 1925, description of Chinese people like scattered sand, and this fragmentation extends beyond family units. There is an old saying in China about minding your own business and not butting into others' business. Sweep the snow from your own doorstep and don't worry about the frost on your neighbor's roof. This deep-rooted mentality may help explain the heap of loose sand phenomenon and the lack of unity among Chinese people. That being said, in this old saying, at least the doorstep mentioned still refers to the door leading to a household of a whole family, a family in which moral values and rules apply. On the other hand, in Chinese society today, a grain of sand that used to symbolize a family unit is no longer. Each grain of sand now represents one individual person. The family unit has crumbled away, and people are more self-centered than ever. To conclude, there stand two fundamental issues faced by the Chinese today. 1. People do not feel that they belong anywhere, and 2. Society is on the brink of a breakdown of trust. In recent years, we have witnessed all sorts of messed up social phenomena, including crimes and scams, reported on the news, and happening all around us, some of which are so unimaginably disturbing and shocking that we have never seen anything like it in China's long history.